shareholder power and that sort of stuff. And some of my colleagues are looking closely at this and a more responsible capitalism, etc., etc. But ultimately, if you only get rewarded for actual success, I suspect this wouldn't have happened so much. We have this rather perverse situation where executive pay has been going up in some circumstances, and profit has actually been going down. And it is that disconnect. I actually am not bothered whether someone gets paid £10 million bonus or £100 million bonus. If they had made a significant amount of profit, if they had hit targets, what they earn, actually to me, I'm really not bothered either way.
Their workers aren't getting the same share.
But the issue with regards to the banks, and the bank that you referred to, is that they were trading in products they didn't know the value of. And indeed, what we're finding out is actually they had negative value. They had no value at all, and yet they were selling them. And this is what really was with the rating agencies were giving them AAA ratings for these products. So how do you trust a rating agency now when they come around saying, well, we're going to downgrade your debt? These same very rating agencies were rating these CDSs as AAAs. And then AIG were coming along and insuring them. Apparently there were 35 guys in Knightsbridge insuring all of these products. So, well, yeah, if they turn out not to be what they think they are, you're insured for them being this. How do you insure something you don't know the value of?
Yeah, well, that's what I mean.
So, people make money out of this, vast amounts of money in the trade of these things. And I have more problem with that than someone selling a business, making £10 million out of the profit, being paid £1 million.
I don't mind Bill Gates getting $400 million every year, whatever it is.
Why? But how can you be comfortable with him doing that and then be worried about people becoming exceptionally wealthy and the social contract breaking?
I think he has a social conscience, quite frankly, and he shares the rewards with the community.
Now you're a conservative. I'm enjoying the movement across political spectrum.
I didn't hear that.
The final point I say, I agree with you that I am concerned about that gap. I'm concerned about this sort of excess consumption, this instant gratification, this hedonistic era that we've just lived through. And indeed we are still living through. And I would wish that we were not living through that. I wish people valued other things more than just the money in their pocket. But I don't know how we address that without actually addressing behaviour. And when politicians address behaviour, it becomes quite tough policy quite quickly.
And those at the top have to set an example for the rest of us to follow.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's, I don't disagree with you, and I hope you think that I do.
Taking the subject of bonuses, why do civil servants get bonuses?
Does anybody get a bonus for doing their job properly?
Yes.
Anybody?
Yeah. I'm always in favour of incentives, and I think proper incentive, one that's been earned. I think there is room for it. But I think the problem is that there were some significant bonuses paid out for the MOD, for example. Have you looked at the MOD lately? It's absolutely. It's just. £37 billion of uncosted contracts. We inherited a £37 billion that we should have the line to pay for the stuff we need. So how on earth do you incentivise anybody in that institution when that has occurred? So I'm slightly uncomfortable about people in public service being financially incentivised, because ultimately, look, if I was incentivised solely by money, do you think I'd be doing this? It's a nonsense. The idea that I've gone into politics to make money, that's the sort of silly nonsense you read in newspapers about politicians. I tell you what, I could easily make a lot more money doing something that's a dance I need in the minutes.
Dare I say, as a GP?
Indeed. I probably took about a 40% pay cut when I was elected. And so the idea that public service should be incentivised financially, I find slightly, it doesn't rest comfortably with me. I would say that if somebody could go into the MOD and sort it all out, I think I'd give them a pretty decent wage. I'd be incentivised to do so. But I'm just cautious about it in public service, because those of us who choose public service don't do it for money. We have mortgages to pay, we have families to support. We want to go on holidays. We want to drive around in a comfortable car. We're all human beings, but we're not driven just by money. And I think that I would prefer to see people in public service who looked at it as that, as service to the public.
Well, this follows on with the pensions business.
You said you would prefer it if people were less hedonistic and less concerned about their money.
Yeah.
So in a job that you do, the esteem of the people around you are directed at you for doing a decent job to the best of your ability. That is your bonus, not financial. Whether public or private. And I think when you're in the private domain and your business is going well because you're making good decisions and you're working well with teams, filters down to everyone like the John Lewis model, and people participate and share. And the ratio, differential between Mr. Topman or Mrs. Topman, woman, and the person on the shop floor should not be so vast. And promotion within Parliament. You can be promoted within Parliament to higher roles. It may not give you money in your pocket, but you feel you have been recognised for what you're doing. And that should be the thing, not these ridiculous bonuses. It's not necessary.
I agree.
You can still pay your mortgage on a salary of 1 million, 0.2, whatever, without a bonus.
Philip, Michael Strange, pensions. The Conservative Party, for the last 13 years before it got into government, said when you age 75, you have to take an annuity, and they were against this, and they were going to stop that and allow people to take annuity when it was appropriate for that person, rather than have a specific date when you'd have to take annuity if it's not in your favour or if it's against you, and this can be very bad. Now, since I've been in government, I've heard no more about this, and this was one of the agendas they were pushing for 13 years.
Is it in the coalition agreement? I don't know. The question is whether it's in the coalition agreement, not whether it's in our manifesto. It might have fallen foul of negotiation. And the honest answer to your question is I don't know.
But it's something that's very important to lots of people.
Yeah, sure, no, I will go away and I'll look at it, but I honestly don't know. It's a detail I don't know. Actually, I don't recall seeing it. Let me get back to you on that, because I honestly don't know the answer to that question. The whole area of pensions is challenging and difficult because it's clearly there are liabilities we can't meet, and also quite a lot of people's pensions are tied up in shares. And it's an area which I think the policy may be evolving. And
but the point is being forced to actually take your pension at a certain rate, which could not be to your advantage. It doesn't cost the government or anybody else any money to get to that law. Which is why I can't understand why it would be in the government's best interest to force an individual to cash in a pension when it was not worth so much. I don't quite follow why that would be government policy anyway. But that's what it is at the moment.
Yeah. Let me get back to you, sir. I don't know the answer to your question. I don't recall it being in the coalition agreement, so let me go and find out.
Okay, thank you.
If you could leave your details with my father at the end, and I shall. Then I'll write you.
And I have one last bash.
Go on.
You're aware of what's happening with lady bankers and with the old people, so
Yeah.
being run down, being closed.
Yeah.
Where do you stand on social care provision? I mean, there's a big argument going on in government, I know. Well, locally, I mean, there is a need for more respite care, more intermediate care, more residential care for some people.
Yeah, I mean, because I understand in Councillor Birch, Lady Bank is, I think there are 8 or 9 residents left.
Well, they've run it down from 23.
And I don't think there's the demand for that particular service, is the point I quite made, which, I mean, I don't know why that is, because if you look, as I mentioned earlier, there are, we have an aging population. My own personal view on this is that it's quite interesting. When I was a GP, doing home visits, I don't do home visits anymore, and I would go to residential homes. I rarely met any Jews or Muslims. And I asked myself the question, why is that? So when you ask yourself that, why is that? In all that time, I rarely met any Jews or Muslims in residential or nursing homes. And then I ask myself the question, well, if that's the case, how come those communities manage to look after their elderly at home, and yet other communities in Britain don't? And I think you have to go back to that, to step right back from this and ask and be honest with ourselves as a population why we have come to the conclusion that it is the responsibility of the state to look after the elderly. Clearly there are situations where people become incontinent or whatever, where nursing care becomes appropriate, of course. And often that is best delivered in a unit or in a nursing home. But I do sometimes, and I used to think this when I went in and did my visits, I used to think, what sort of society have we become where we've outsourced family responsibility in this way? Now, the reason this happens to a certain extent is that we increasingly become atomised as a country, as a society. Families no longer live near each other, so you can often be a single child and your elderly mother is living 200 miles away on the other side of the country. So I recognise the practicalities and the challenges that people have. They've got to have full-time jobs to be able to pay the mortgage or to pay for their families.